Well, hello, listing queens. We are back. And right now I'm going to introduce you to an amazing human who is young and quite successful. So say hello to Mallory Rowan.
Thanks for having me.
Mallory, thank you for being here. All right. So ladies, Mallory has 3 successful businesses. And I want you to know that what caught my eye as one night, maybe a month ago, that I was streaming through or just bored.
Yeah.
I found that Mallory, next to her, she has $1 million net worth at 29. I don't know if you are 29 or if that happened when you were 29.
Yeah, 29.
And so I thought, wow, I work with women of all ages, and I want to present and showcase you. So Mallory, thank you so much. And really congratulations. So I want everyone to know that you're not a realtor.
Yeah.
Although you are part owner of a real estate team, right? So,
Yes.
but ladies, even though she's not a realtor, you know who she is? She's a smart cookie. She is a CEO. And as I share with you, if you want to be successful as a realtor, you have to put that CEO hat on.
Yes.
So let's get started. Our audience is filled with, as we're recording this, we're over 1,000 already. So I'm anticipating 3,000, right?
Amazing.
So our audience is filled with brand new agents, those making 100,000, those making 500,000, those making over $1 million. So it's really a diverse group. But I know that many in sales, which is what realtors are really good at making money. Not so good with being profitable. Right. So I thought, I wonder if you could speak to how do you control costs?
Yes. I would say always start with knowing your base, what's the minimum I need, especially because with real estate, I mean, the pandemic was a perfect example where a lot of the pandemic was surprisingly hot in real estate, but now we've seen a lot of cool down, maybe things are picking back up for most people now, but knowing what that minimum is that you need will really help you stay steady through those kind of scenarios and also help you keep perspective on your spend, because like you said, when the money starts coming in, it's easy to start spending it. So I like to say stay lean so we don't have to get lean later. We don't want to have to do it in an emergency mode. It's good to be very intentional with where all of the money is going. I think getting really strong contacts is a really great way to have costs staying low too, whether it's for your own stuff. If you're working on deals with photographers and you have a bulk rate for all the business, you bring that, maybe it's stagers, elements like that. Relying on low cost efforts, most of our marketing is through Instagram. My partner, when he started as a realtor, he's almost 95% of his leads are through social media, and they're really high quality leads. So it's you're putting more effort into that thing, but at $0, it's just kind of a time exchange. And then he's getting these really incredible buyers and sellers through that. So I think really leaning in to those areas that are low cost or zero cost even, and then hiring to fill your gaps, not just hiring to hire. I think sometimes we do that of people get told, hire someone to do your social, but maybe you do really well in showing up there. So being really, really intentional with every cost you're bringing to the business.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Ladies, being intentional, right? That's what a CEO is. We're decisive, ladies. We have to be decisive. I like how you said hire to fill gaps as opposed to, and I'm not knocking Keller Williams, but the Keller Williams book. First, you hire a buyer agent, then you hire your admin. It's wait a minute. That might not be good for me.
For everyone. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I just love that. And so would you say that your partner's Instagram, where he's getting 95% of his closed business from there, I want the ladies to understand 2 things that I'm going to ask you. Number one is, what is the most important thing that allows him that to happen? What do you think about that? And then secondly, how long did it take for his dedication and consistency and commitment to really pay off? Because really, it's not a short-term gain. It's not like buying a sweater. I can say, oh, I like him, I'm going to go use him. I'm not,
Yeah, I think the most important element is really showing who you are as a human. I think realtors are so good at that in-person interaction. Like most realtors are so personable and charismatic because that's why they got into a profession where they get to talk and hang out with people all the time, right? But then sometimes when we go to translate it online, we get really stiff, we get really professional to the point of everything is like a logo and a graphic. And it's the professional photo of the home that you got. And we get a little bit scared of getting messy when sometimes, you don't realize like it really doesn't feel messy for it to be a photo you took on your iPhone. But I think bringing in those human elements, because real estate is such a trust type of business, the more we can get a feel for you. So showing your face, hearing your voice, these are ways that we can feel really connected to you. Even seeing you don't have to share your entire private life, but let us get to know you a little. Are you someone that likes to go hiking? Are you someone that loves Star Wars, right? There's a realtor for everyone. So if you could pull out those characteristics that people really connect with, they feel so much more connected when they reach out. And for anything right now online, we say like 60 to 80% of the sales cycle now happens before you even make that first point of contact, because now we do our research first, right? So that's what we've really noticed is a difference is they come and they're ready to buy or sell and they're ready to use you specifically. So you don't get clients like ghosting you or disappearing on you, right? You get really great interactions. And we've actually noticed also, a like faster conversion rate on buyers, especially because that trust is built. They're so much more coachable from day one, where he can say, if this is the home, like this is the offer we have to do. And they're like, okay, I trust you, because that relationship's been slowly building over time, which is really cool.
I love that. So it's actually your partner and others who are successful on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube even. They can see in their research of you a demonstration of who you are and the results they can expect with you.
Exactly.
It's just amazing. And ladies, I keep telling my clients, show your face. People want to see your face and they want to hear this voice.
Yes.
I love that. It's one of my clients who's also one of the speakers, Elisa. She said that she was out somewhere and somebody goes, "Hey, you're not like regular realtors." And she's like, "No, I'm not." And she goes, "But what did you mean by that?" And they said, "You're not boring and you're not bossy." And I was like, yes, because she's being herself. She's showing herself online. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah. And for your second question of how long it takes to, I think people also think it takes forever. You could look at someone like my partner right now. He has, I think, like 15,000 followers, which is obviously a lot. A lot of that is from our first business, actually, when we were in the fitness niche. And what's cool is a lot of those people have carried over of, even though there's a global audience, you have referrals, right? Whether it's other agents or even other just individuals. We have a lot of people moving to our city, especially post-pandemic, living in a more virtual work from home world. We get a lot of clients that don't want to spend the $2 million to live downtown Toronto or wherever they are. So they're coming here. And so we're getting people where they say, "Oh, well, I follow this guy, Josh, and he's a realtor in Ottawa. And if that's where you're moving, like, you got to use this guy," right? So we're actually getting referrals from individuals that live in other places. And I think that process can happen a lot faster. I have a client right now that's a mortgage broker. She started with less than 1,000 followers, has just a little bit over right now. She has like 10 deals right now just from Instagram leads, because so often there's people already in your community that maybe just aren't getting that full connection. They're not really seeing what it is you do, what that special part of you is. And once you start bringing it forward, the people are ready to raise their hand and say like, "Yep, you're my realtor." And so you can actually see those deals fairly quickly. And the nice thing about real estate, right? We're in like a high ticket business of one sale can mean a lot. So it's very motivating when you get that first lead from social that converts, like you're sold on showing up online because it felt so good. It was probably a really perfect match, like that ideal client, and you got a sale out of it.
That's amazing. I love that. I totally love that. The perfect match really resonates. Because what I hear, and some of our attendees might think, I don't really want listings because my listings are kind of hard. And that's because you didn't set the expectation, right? Or you accepted a way overpriced listing, and or you didn't present it the way, the qualified motivated buyer pool wants to see it. And now whose fault is it? It's not theirs, it's yours. So that's really interesting. I love that. All right. So I know that you help entrepreneurs skip the burnout by working less on purpose and setting up your calendar on your terms. All right. So can you share briefly your burnout revelations and how you were able to prioritize you, which means non-work time.
Yeah, I think for
You have
myself,
3 businesses right now, right? You have 3 businesses.
yeah. So with my first business is when I burnt out really hard. That was when we were doing our product-based business, but I was also competing in powerlifting and a student and working full time and then making that business. So it's not really shocking when you put those together that I burned out. But for me, it's the difference now is really like understanding that all these other things are part of the work, right? So even if you see yourself as a workaholic, starting to reposition of like, the best thing you're doing for your business isn't always working till 2 a.m. It's actually making sure you get 8 hours of sleep, because there's so much like scientific research that has shown the importance of sleep. And for me, like if you're a logistics, logical person, like get into those studies, or there's a great book called The Sleep Revolution by Ariana Huffington of Huffington Post. She gets into all of that, and it really helps you see like, okay, I'm actually doing my business a disservice, not just my health, but my business a disservice when I'm pulling these all-nighters, right? When I'm doing the insane hours or not taking a moment to refresh, because then I'm actually not as efficient in the hours that I'm working. So I think really seeing that part as like, you know, spending time with my family really does recharge me. So seeing that as an equal part of the puzzle. In terms of the burnout, for me, it was definitely when I wasn't feeling like myself. Like the physical signs came later and louder and really made me shift. But the starting signs were that, like, you know, feeling like I was losing my personality a bit, feeling like I was like really irritated by things that wouldn't normally irritate me. So I think if those are signs you're seeing, it's your body, you know, trying to whisper before it screams.
Wow, I love that. The irritation, the restlessness,
Yes.
the resentment sets
Yep.
in when you're kind of in overwork mode. And the difference between hustle and hard work. I have my ideas, but do you make a distinction between hustle and hard work?
I love that. I think I do mentally, but I've never thought about it that way before.
Well, the way that I see it, and I learned this from my coach, Stacey Bayman, what she says, and I say it a little differently, but I'll say it the way that I perceive it,
Mm-hmm.
that it's the way I feel when I'm doing it, right? So if I feel like I have,
Yes.
like almost like pushed,
Yes.
like forced, like it's not
Gotta
enough,
keep up. Yeah.
that's the hustle. But if
Mhm.
you are in your rhythm and you're just at it and you're enjoy,
Yeah.
and you're feeling like I'm passionate and this is what I'm doing, that's the distinction I think between hard work and hustle.
Totally. And I think we, you know, work-life balance has become a big term, and we try to do that on the daily basis, which is really important still. But I think also looking at the bigger lens of like a year or even a few years, like we often talk about, we'll have like transition years, or we will have harder work years where we just know we're putting in a little bit more work. Or let's say you have 5 listings right now, like, okay, accept that your May month is going to be a little bit wild, but then we're going to make room in June to take a little more family time so that you have that balance in the big picture.
Absolutely. Because as a realtor, and really as any CEO of any business, your work and your non-work time actually obviously meld together.
Yeah.
So did your mind play a game? And I know that you actually had physical symptoms. I read all about it and saw your on
Yeah.
but like, did your brain ever tell you, oh my gosh, I'm lazy? Or did you ever go through, that kind, as you were transitioning into what you're calling life balance, giving
Yeah.
honoring your non-work time?
Yeah. I mean, I still do. I think a lot of us that are successful, as whether it's entrepreneurs, CEOs, or realtors, you know, we're really driven people. So a lot of that, the reason is we have that little voice in the back of our head, which can be helpful, but it can also be kind of mean, right? For me, books and podcasts have been a big part of that, of like, it's hard to find those communities or like-minded people. The internet can be great for that, but books and podcasts have really allowed me to find those people on like a much larger scale that I can connect with their advice. There's a great book called Laziness Does Not Exist by Devin Price. And it's kind of like the sleep revolution in that it really is breaking down every argument you could make. And, you know, everything from the kid in class that is always lazy to us in our everyday life, and like understanding the reasons behind what those things are. You know, if you're like, oh, today all I want to do is watch Netflix, I feel so lazy. It's like, okay, well, let's break down. Maybe your nervous system needs a break. So it's really like once we look at it, there's not really such a thing as laziness. There's just cues that tell us something else is happening.
Oh, I love that you brought up nervous system.
Mm.
Because I talk a lot about the stem or the reptilian brain, which I
Yeah.
call Satan, it's like negative Nelly. And then versus the prefrontal cortex, which is the creative side of us, which is the driven side, which is, so it's really interesting because there are reasons that, that we do what we do and that we perceive things. Because,
Yep.
if I owe lots of money to taxes, I feel good about it. Right. I mean, nobody wants to, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I made enough that I can, I have this
Yeah.
tax bill.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, somebody else would say, oh, I owe tax, but it's just a
Right.
perception. I love the nervous system. All right. So
Totally.
how do you recommend that you're talking about relationships and letting people get to know you online, right? What we need to do, that's the one-to-many strategy. I call it like the one-to-many because it's so great and it's free. Like just show up and people will find you, right?
Yeah.
But there's another mode of communication that as you bring people in and maybe maybe you have a link tree and you have an offering and now you get their email. Can you chat with us a little bit about what your theory is with nurture through email?
Yeah, I think email is the same as social in that I always say, like, if you're bored, we're bored, right? Like you love your business more than we love your business. If you're posting social content or you're sending a monthly newsletter and you're like, oh, I'm going to send my monthly newsletter, like chances are that's a boring newsletter and we're not having fun either, right? So I think no matter what marketing you're doing, if you can kind of, like you said, change your perception, say, this is the thing I want to do and get to do for my business. How am I going to enjoy it? Then you can decide some really creative ideas to bring to email. I didn't like email marketing when I started with my coaching business. I loved it for product, but for coaching, I'm like, oh, I don't really want to do this. And I just took enough time of sitting down and being like, what emails do I love to receive? Okay, I've got an idea of those. What is it about them that I love? And how do I translate that to what I'm doing? So I think if we can always look at those, it's going to help us have a strategy that we like. If we're just sending, I always use monthly stats as an example with realtors. Everybody loves to post the graphics of the new stats, but no one likes to translate it for the everyday person. So it's just a bunch of realtors talking to each other in a room, with up and down arrows from last year, and no one else really cares or knows what's happening. So I always say okay, is there an opportunity as a realtor to have an email list where you're actually translating that information? What is it that you think your clients want to know about? I think whether it's social or email, people aren't buying a house every month, right? I'm not going to go buy 6 houses this year. So why am I going to stay engaged with a realtor? And that's the question not enough people ask, whether it's email or social. Why would I want to follow you all year round? I don't want to see a sold house every day. That's not why I'm here, right? It might be learning about the communities. It might be, educating myself for when I do buy or when I do sell, or if I want to invest, right? So really thinking about, can we give them a reason to want to be in this space versus, kind of operating at that place of just oh, I hope people don't unsubscribe to my email because it's kind of the same thing every month, right?
Yes, yes. And you know what? I believe that your thoughts create your results. In fact, I know it. And so I love that you're saying give what you would want. And that way the people that resonate with it will be your people. Right.
100%.
And I'm always telling my clients, go to other local businesses. I'm sure your partner does this, and their Instagram, give them some love. If they have a Google review, give them some love. Then they'll notice, oh, who's this? Oh, and maybe they'll reciprocate, but give what you want. I'm sure running 3 businesses mandates simple systems.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to ask you to oh, tell us your simple, but can you just chat with us? What you think a key is to, and, because your partner's a realtor, what do you think would be simple systems that you would recommend if you really want to become your market's next listing queen?
I think accountability is a huge one. So whether you have a team or whether you have peers, my partner has a group of realtors where they all started at the same brokerage around the same time. And now they've all moved. They're all in different positions, but they still have that group chat. They still lean on each other. And I think that's a really great safe space to even ask those questions or, share those wins. For us with our team, we actually do Monday and Thursday accountability meetings. So Monday we're saying, okay, what's your number one priority for new lead generation? What's your number one priority for getting old clients to be recurring clients or referral clients? So we always look at the new, the existing, and then it's the day-to-day, because I think with a realtor, it's so easy for the day-to-day things to take over. Like, I have to call that mortgage broker. I have to follow up with that client. Okay, can we actually start our week thinking about what are these bigger goals? And then building them into your morning. So always starting, like, your morning is such sacred time as a realtor because everything else falls apart after, right? We don't know what the day is going to look like. So if you could always start your day with a lead generating activity for new business or those existing clients, like, you're already winning. And then for us, we touch base on Thursday. So whether you're doing this with other people or just even with your own to-do list, Thursday morning, we go, okay, what about those goals that I maybe kind of fallen apart on? You know, maybe we got a listing that came up, we had to book photography. What were those goals? And I have less than 48 hours left of this week. How am I getting those things off my to-do list? And that has been a really great, like, base structure for us. I think then too, like, anything where you can be more efficient of creating reusable resources. So you're sending an email after that first phone call with a client. Are you writing that email from scratch every time? Right. And even I think sometimes people can get overwhelmed by, like, a lot of the tech of the mondays.com. Even if you just had a Google Doc and it was like go-to emails and we're just pasting them every time we write them. Right. I think that's a really good one as well. And then the last thing would be your CRM, of course, as a realtor. And I think one thing people don't do enough is the Facebook messages, the Instagram leads, those can go into your CRM. If someone DMs you and says, hey, you know, I love what you're putting out. I'm not buying this year, but I'm thinking about it in 2025. Put that person in your CRM, tag them as 2025, and see those people as leads, because then it's also going to feel even better about the effort we're doing on the email list and the social. You're going to start to realize, like, oh, I actually am getting leads, even if they're not converting yet.
Oh, I love that. There's so much gold there. And the last point is really you being open to recognizing the opportunity and acting on the opportunity, right? And not just letting, oh, she said 2025, you know, no.
Exactly.
And some words that you are saying continually that I want to call out is lean in. I think you've said that 3 times.
Yeah.
You are leaning in with intention.
Yeah.
So ladies, just really notice that. And I love the fact that you said the priorities of new lead gen and then re-engagement in those you have, and then lead the day-to-day, because there's a difference between important and perceived urgency. That's why in the onset, ladies, with your sellers, and as you know, you're laying the expectation, I'm going to give you a weekly update.
Yeah.
I'm also going to check with it, you know, that's going to be via email. And I'm also going to check in with you on Monday via phone, whatever. And so you lay that expectation, and then your day-to-day babysitting can really, really go away, really. And I like the template idea for your, you know, touches, which brings me to what my second to last question. When you are talking about having a successful business and leveraging, this is what we're doing. There's a beauty of becoming a listing queen, because now you can have off weekends if you'd like, and you can have someone else do your open house, right? You get more time control. And so how do you see the importance of the seller experience that you allow your clients to delight in, and you delight in giving it to them, in terms of having people say, I need her, and like really, you know, sharing that on social media, in your emails, as you're out and about networking? What do you think is the value of curating a beautiful, you know, I like to call like a, what's that? Ritz-Carlton 5-star hotel experience.
I think setting expectations, and even with that boundaries from the start, right? Sometimes we see boundaries with clients as like they're going to perceive it as negative. But I think if you just make it clear, like you said, of like, hey, I'm going to check in with you Thursday afternoons, it gives them a framework to work within. If you're always answering, that can be seen as a plus, but it can also then set that expectation that even on a Friday night when you're out, you know, you're answering right away. I think if people can feel like you're always coming to them before they have to come to you of like, hey, you know, market's slow, do we need to do a price reduction? It should be you saying, okay, this is the timeline of when we're going to make these decisions, right? So I think always being really active in your communication. I think things like social and email are a great opportunity to show the client experience before they even reach out, right? We talked about that sales cycle. So much of it now happening before is like, they should actually know of what it's like to work with you as a listing agent before they reach out. And that's why they're reaching out, because they're hooked. We've had, for example, my partner's old boss from like one of his first jobs actually hired him for a buy sell when he has lots of realtor friends, but he saw the marketing we were doing for listings and could see, okay, this guy puts in the work, right? I don't see my friends, I don't see any evidence of what they're doing besides maybe a lawn sign, right? So people really get to enjoy that experience beforehand. So not only just building that trust through how you show up online, but also just giving like tangible examples. It can also be sharing a blog post of like, hey, that listing we just posted, yeah, it sold in 4 days and it was the best sale on the street, right? Always finding those moments you can pull out. I think is really important. And there's ways to like maintain intimacy now with all of the tech available to us, where you still get to have those boundaries, but things like having a group chat. We have an agent on our team. So sometimes it will be Josh and Nia in a group chat with our clients. And that way they feel really supported, but it might also give Josh that boundary of Nia's going to answer the base questions, right? But on their end, they feel extra support because they get 2 realtors in the group chat, right?
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so amazing. I mean, I could talk to you for hours. I'm sure everyone could too. And we're definitely going to let people know how to reach you and things. But I do have one final question.
Yeah.
When you step away from the burnout and live your life, you decide to live your life in alignment with your values, those things that are most important to you, focusing on the end in mind. I'd love you to just, finish out this interview with your thoughts on how you get your business to serve you in the long term.
I think not enough people, and especially realtors, lead with the question of like, what do I really want this business to do for me? Where do I want to be standing 5-10 years from now? I think traditionally, we saw this like realtor gets a team, that's their namesake team, and then maybe opens a brokerage if they want to. There's so many options. You can be the star realtor, you can be the shark negotiator and have admin support, right? You can be running a team that's more like a business where you're not trading anymore. So I think like stepping back and saying like, what do I really want in the long term? When I wake up 10 years from now, what do I want to be doing with my days, right? How do I want it to feel? And I think this question is really important because it can make us go, oh, I actually don't want to wake up and have to call clients. Or it could go, you know what? I want to wake up and call my clients and do none of the background work, right? Or maybe I don't want to be a realtor 10 years from now, but I want to look at how real estate can serve me to get to this next position I want to be in. So really thinking about that, what parts do I love? What parts would I like to let go of? And not just being stuck in that day-to-day of like, how do I make more revenue next year? Because that's where you get to the point where you're rich and burnt out and you're not loving what you're doing. And you're going, well, what was all the money for? If now my health is bad, I'm depressed, and I've built a business that I hate. So thinking about how can you build that business that you love and where do you want to be sitting at that table?
Yes. And I think that, thank you for that, because that reminds me of compare and despair. And I think that realtors, to your point, get in a rut of, well, this is what I do, because they don't have the CEO hat on. So they just think, okay, that last year I made this, I guess this year I want to make this. And like you said, I guess this next step is getting the second admin, or
because somebody said that's next, right?
Yeah, somebody somewhere. And so I love that you are an entrepreneurial spirit. What are 3 of your businesses? So just tell us, because I want to give you kudos. So something about the fitness, and then
Yes. Well, so my first business that we're no longer doing was powerlifting apparel. That was how I got into entrepreneurship. But now the current 3, we have my partner's real estate business, and now that's kind of developed into a real estate team called Sayer Group. I have my own business where I do business coaching and I teach marketing online and do like content creation. And then our third business, we actually have invested in a few properties ourselves, but we're doing a vacation rental. And we're just starting that this summer. So I'm really excited to kind of bring my marketing world to the vacation rental space. So those are our 3 right now.
So fun.
Yeah.
Where can people find you, Mallory?
I'm pretty much Mallory Rowan everywhere. Instagram's my main place, but Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and my website is malloryrowan.com. My DMs are always open if you want to slide in and even just say, hey, I listened to you at the summit. I really connected. I always love messages like that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mallory.
No problem.
Continued success to you.